new Lord of the Rings MMO teased, and more coming up on today's episode of Latest in Tech News. Hey Gadgeteer, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the Latest in Tech News. My name is Taylor American. If you're new here, if I can talk, welcome. Hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on the next episode. We do this on the daily, except for the weekends. And hold off on that like button if you're watching today's video show episode thingamabobber until you get, well, to the part that you actually want to like. And speaking of what's to like, we have been nominated for an award at the Podcast Awards. Yes, you might be watching a YouTube video right now, but if you're on the go or if you're listening via audio, we have a podcast version ready to go for you. And the Podcast Awards, well, that's a place where you, the listener, can nominate your favorite podcast shows for an award, and we are part of it. So if you would be so kind, the month of July means that you get to nominate your favorite podcast shows that you listen to on a wide variety of categories. And if you would be so kind, if you're listening right now, to head on over to podcastawards.com, register for a free account. You can pick your nominations. We are currently listed in the technology and people's choice. So the latest in tech news is in either one of those categories, along with a wide variety of other categories you can pick from for different shows in the different categories. You can submit your nominations, and we'll find out the full skew in then the coming month or two. So if you could do that, that would be great. Doesn't cost you a dime, doesn't cost you a penny, just costs you maybe a couple minutes of your time. And don't worry, they don't spam your email address with anything. It's just confirmation that you registered and confirmed your nomination. So with that out of the way, well, we'll be looking at a new Lord of the Rings MMO coming from ex-Destiny developers. We'll also be taking a look at, well, how to search for specific text, if I can get that right, on any website on the iPhone. Little interesting trick there. We'll also be taking a look at Agent Smith malware has replaced Android apps codes on 25 million devices. Here we go yet again. We'll also be taking a look at the iPhone 11, why you might want to wait to buy your next iPhone. Doesn't seem like this is looking good for buying signals here. And finally, we'll be taking a look at the Nintendo Switch Lite, the prices, release date, colors revealed, and more. And that's about it. If you're wondering, where's the full skew? You might have a couple other articles you're missing out on. Well, it's late and I wasn't able to find any other interesting articles. Speaking of which, if you happen to find an interesting article that you want me to cover, or if you have an interesting topic or category or game or something you want me to keep an eye on for you, let me know on Twitter at TechNewsGadget, and we'll be sure to go ahead and do that for you. We also don't have a Did You Know segment because I'm tired. After coming back from a full-time job and a burning hot day at work, I'm talking about pushing 90 degrees outside and me being outside for 6 of those hours today, at least during the hottest parts of the day. I'm worn out. I'm tired. It took all day just to recuperate from all day at work, so I'm burned out. So I'm gonna keep the show short, sweet, to the point as best as I can. But this isn't, like I've said numerous times before, my full-time job. I have a full-time job that I do this on the side. So I do the best I can, and appreciate you guys taking the time, opportunity to listen. So with that out of the way, let's head on over to today in tech history. All right, today is July 10th, 2019. On this day in history, in 1962, the Telstar satellite was launched. Transatlantic television and other communications became a reality as the Telstar communications satellite was launched. A product of AT&T Bell Laboratories, the satellite was the first orbiting international communications satellite that sent information to tracking stations on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. Initial enthusiasm for making phone calls via the satellite waned after users realized there was a half-second delay. Oh, be still my bleeding heart! As a result of the 25,000-mile transmission path. But come on, you gotta be honest though. In 1962, a half-second delay in a phone call, it's okay. That's okay. Like, if you could imagine that now in 2019, I guarantee whatever you're using, you'd snap in half and throw it across the room and say, piece of junk, because, right, technology should have progressed that far by then. Something's going on with my hair. Oh, no. Ah, jeez. Stupid hair. I tried to fix the hair, and if you're listening to the podcast, you have no idea what's going on. Hi, I was waving. The difficulties. But yeah, the Telstar satellite launched on this day in 1962, furthering more communications and progress in technology. So glad we don't have to worry about a half-second delay in communication calls. Am I right? All right, heading over to today's feature story. Did you know that there's a new Lord of the Rings MMO in the works? Yeah, it's not called Lord of the Rings Online. This game is, well, we'll get into that, but this is coming from ex-Destiny developers, so it, merely with that title, it had better be good. Otherwise, I'm going to flip a lid or something, or I might just take the ring and throw it in the Mines of Moria myself. Amazon Game Studios is teaming up with Athlon Games to co-develop and publish a free-to-play Lord of the Rings MMO for PC and console. Currently, Lord of the Rings Online, not a different MMO entirely, is PC only. We first heard news of the upcoming MMO last year. However, Amazon Game Studios' involvement is new, as is the revelation that the studio brings with it a team that includes veteran developers who've worked on popular MMOs such as World of Warcraft and Destiny. So, bodes well, so far as I'm hearing. According to Amazon Game Studios, the MMO will take place in the Middle-earth portrayed in the Lord of the Rings literary trilogy. Previously, the game was set to be a prequel to the well-known stories of Frodo and Bilbo Baggins, instead taking place in the deep history of Middle-earth, the not really explored type, the kind of glossed over type by the Silmarillion, and they, conveniently wanted to avoid any canonical issues. Tolkien's Middle-earth is one of the richest fictional worlds in history, and it gives our team of experienced MMO developers from the same studio developing New World tremendous opportunity to play and create, said Amazon Game Studios VP Christoph Hartmann. We have a strong leadership team in place to helm this new project, and we're actively growing our team to help build this incredible experience. The game is unrelated, by the way, to the Lord of the Rings TV series Amazon Studios is developing and currently has no firm release date, and that's really all we know. Seeing as how it was teased, typically when it comes to teasers, probably wait a year or two until you might see something pop up at a games conference like a E3 or a Gamescom, and then another year or two until you actually have like a beta version or it in final retail mode. And hopefully the studios behind the development here for this game aren't like the ones who completely flubbed Anthem and Fallout 76. Hopefully they're not ratcheting down so hardcore on their team that they're completely squelching any kind of productivity, creativity, ingenuity, and stickiness to want to continue to play the game. Something that Blizzard does very well with World of Warcraft and numerous other AAA rated studios do consistently well. Well, with the exception of Bethesda and EA. EA is just a time and money suck, and hopefully they'll figure out the problems there soon enough. But yeah, what do you guys think of this? Are you excited? A new Lord of the Rings MMO game. I actually wouldn't have minded had it delved into the history briefly glossed over in the Silmarillion, or continued on after the Lord of the Rings trilogy and maybe had some tie-ins to the book that was published by Tolkien's son to some extent, although it could happen in the timeline after that book was published. I don't know, there's a lot of things you can pick and choose in between. I don't necessarily want to play something that happens within the canon of Lord of the Rings. I'd much rather to play a Middle Earth that's unexplored, and because of its rich history, you can incorporate a lot of different tie-ins. I would really love that. That's what I like. I love fleshing out ideas, histories, lore, new characters, something that helps make a nice tie-in into events and things that happen in the future, such as The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, and has tie-ins back to the Silmarillion, and has tie-ins maybe even later on. I like that kind of stuff. That's mainly the sticking point for a lot of the Lord of the Rings games and the books themselves, because they have a lot of information that you could go through. But I get it. I mean, they're probably looking at it saying it would probably be better off if it was set during the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so that people who jump in go say, well, I only saw the movie, but I could see myself playing this game. I could see myself getting into this game. Yeah, this game's good. Yeah, I like this game. Yeah, I feel comfortable. The price is good. I really like it. I'm going to tell a friend about it, and we're all going to play together. So that might be the angle that they're going for here as well. That being said, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below in the comment section of this video. So feel free to share your thoughts, and we'll continue the discussion there. You've heard my thoughts on the subject, a game I'm excited for as well. So with that being said, let's head on over to the next story we got lined up for you. Alright, so did you know that you can perform CTRL F on your iPhone? For those of you who have an iPhone, yes, it is possible. This function lets you search for specific text on any mobile web page. And in case you're wondering, CTRL F is one of the most useful functions on any computer. Pressing these two keys simultaneously lets you narrow down your inquiries even further by easily allowing you to search for a specific word or a phrase. You can see how many instances of that word or phrase appear on the web page, and if they don't appear at all, you can move on to a new web page to hopefully find what you're looking for. Now, you might not know, but the same CTRL F function also works on the iPhone, although it works and looks a little bit differently there. So here's how you do it. For example, if you're on a website and you want to find the word apple written in this article, and in this particular case here, they're using Business Insider, their website, and they got some images that goes along with it. The first step here is clicking the share button, which is the box shaped icon with an arrow pointing out from the top, and I'm scrolling here, this option that you see here. And then clicking the share button brings up the share sheet, which has a lot of useful functions and shortcuts. You can actually rearrange the shortcuts by tapping and holding any one of those icons and moving it to your desired location. And one of the options that pop up on it, as we're looking at right here on the second row, is Find on Page. Now all you do, as you might guess, when you click on Find on Page, the icon with a magnifying glass right there with the arrow, you'll be prompted to start typing the word or phrase that you're looking for. So this is where you could type out apple, and it'll immediately bring you to the first instance of the word, as you can see here. And if you click the arrow keys next to the word or phrase you're searching for, you'll move on to the next or previous instance of your search term. So I'll click on over to the next one. These arrows, the up and down arrows, it'll click you in between the next word and the previous word. Now, if you prefer using Google Chrome on your iPhone, CTRL F works there too. It actually works better there, since Chrome will tell you how many instances of that word or phrase are on the web page, just like a desktop computer. Apple Safari on the iPhone currently does not do this. So if you're on Chrome, the first thing you want to do is click the three dots in the bottom right corner of Chrome, right here. Three dots summon a whole new menu with functions to reload the page, open new tabs, bookmarks, and more. All you would do is, well, scroll down the menu until you find the function called Find in Page, which also has a magnifying glass icon next to it, right here. And then just start typing the word or phrase you're searching for, and Google Chrome will find and highlight it for you. Unlike Safari, Chrome also shows you the number of instances of that word or phrase as they appear on the web page. Hopefully Apple adds this feature to Safari soon, as you can see. And in case you didn't know that, well, you've now noticed it because I told you about it. So if you have an iPhone, hopefully this helps you guys out. I actually didn't know about this feature. I actually never really thought about having to use this feature. I figured that was what a desktop or laptop computer was for. Because why would you want to do this on a web page? But I suppose that there's the reasoning behind all of that. So with that out of the way, let's head on over to the next story. By the way, in case you're wondering, everything that we covered today, article-wise, can be found at TechNewsGadget.net. Just head on over to the show notes for today's episode, and you can click on any article link and read it in its entirety. As for you listening via the podcast, though, if you click to read the show notes there, you actually get something called the entire show notes, and you can click, well, tap the article title right there on your phone, and it'll open up the article in a whole new browser for you. Speaking of which, Agent Smith, I'm sure you've heard of it. Well, there's an Agent Smith malware that's going around replacing Android apps code on up to, well, 25 million devices right about now, and kind of concerning. A newly discovered piece of Android malware that replaces portions of apps with its own code has infected more than 25 million devices, according to security firm Check Point. Man, they seem to find a whole lot of stuff. Check Point's researchers named the malware Agent Smith because of the methods it uses to attack a device and avoid detection. Kind of like the Matrix. The malware doesn't steal data from a user. Instead, it hacks apps and forces them to display more ads, or takes credit for the ads they already display so that the malware's operator can profit off of the fraudulent views. Checkpoint says that malware looks for known apps on a device, such as WhatsApp, Opera Mini, or Flipkart, then replaces portions of their code and prevents them from being updated. Agent Smith has primarily infected devices in India and other nearby countries. That's because the main way it's spread is through a third-party app store called 9apps that's popular in that region. The malware would be hidden inside a barely functioning photo utility game or other weird apps, so don't get into that. After a user downloaded one, the malware would disguise itself as a Google-related app with a name like Google Updater, and then begin the process of replacing the code. So, despite its focus on India, which accounts for 15 million infections, Checkpoint says the malware also made its way to the US, where more than 300,000 devices were infected. Malware's operator also seems to have attempted to expand into the Google Play Store, sneaking in 11 apps that included code related to a simpler version of the malware. That malware remained dormant, though, and Checkpoint says Google has now removed all of the discovered malicious apps. So, a key vulnerability that Agent Smith relies on was patched several years ago in Android, but developers need to update their apps in order to take advantage of the added protections. Evidently, many have not, including WhatsApp. This application was as malicious as they come. Checkpoint writes of the malware. According to researchers, the malware appears to be run by a Chinese company that claims to help developers publish their apps internationally. So, not the greatest track record going on there, but yeah, the developers, if you're listening and you develop apps for Android, please update your apps to take advantage of the added protections and actually keep that malware dormant so it doesn't start affecting apps and messing around with WhatsApp, Opera Mini, Flipkart, and a bunch of other stuff. So keep an eye out. If you don't know the app or you're unfamiliar with the app, if you are unfamiliar with the publisher, if something even sounds fishy, great suggestion for you, don't download it. Don't download it, because I guarantee you'll get stuck with some weird malware thing, and make sure you keep your apps updated and current, and hopefully the developers do the same. I'm looking at you, I don't know who I'm looking at, some weird developer out there who went, well, I'm listening to the show, but I don't want to update the app. Well. This is why you update stuff, okay? Just saying. Alright, next up we got some gadget news. The iPhone 11. What to expect and why waiting may be your best option. And I just gotta say, this article comes to us from USA Today, and I have to say, I love how annoyingly stupid this site is. And with that being said, no more needs to be said, because I don't want to get myself in trouble. But okay, I'm not saying anything more. you might want to remain patient before buying your next iPhone. Sure, the unexpected unveiling of Apple's iPhone 11, if that's what it's going to be called, is still roughly 2 months away, and all we are going on at this stage are leaks and rumors, but there are already hints that the 2019 iPhone upgrade cycle will be comparatively modest, if not actually a bit of a bore, with far more significant changes coming in 2020. Most notably, well, we've already covered it on the show here, if you're looking for an iPhone-compatible 5G phone, you'll most certainly have to wait until next year. Granted, these are the early days of 5G, and Apple has a long history of adopting technologies on its own timetable rather than rushing to be first, but you can't help notice all the Android rivals are currently rushing in with all that 5G handsets. But what does this suggest? Well, the iPhone faithful, you might want to wait until next year. That is, unless you're really tempted by an Android feel that continues to get stronger. The OnePlus 7 Pro is actually pretty impressive. It's not a 5G phone either, but many people who saw it were intrigued by its screen and design, and the camera is terrific. Meanwhile, all eyes will be on Brooklyn's Barclays Center on August 7th when Samsung unveils the Galaxy Note 10, the next versions of its priciest phones, of which there may be 1 or 2 5G variants. Now, as for Apple, in a note to clients seen by CNBC, JP Morgan analyst Samik Chatterjee speculated that 3 September 2020 iPhones, no telling what they'll be called by then, either will have screen sizes of 5.4, 6.1, and 6.7 inches and will include OLED displays and, yes, 5G modems. Chatterjee added that at least 2 of the trio will have time-of-flight 3D sensors that promise to step up the quality of augmented and virtual reality games and other custom applications. But where does that leave the 2019 phones that are expected to launch in a couple of months? Well, look for 3 handsets that will include chip improvements, a bump up in specs, but the writing on the wall suggests these upgrades will be incremental. As for the battery life, likely a little bit better, or so the hope goes, but it's never something to scoff at. There may be room internally for bigger batteries. As for cameras, via a triple camera system on the rear, at least on the most expensive of the new models, if not 3, the optics should also improve. That will give a shooter more flexible wide angle and zoom options, perhaps. The new iPhone may also let you capture photos in dim light, something Google's Pixel phones and the aforementioned OnePlus do very well, and it's actually very impressive, especially as far as the Pixel is concerned. As for wireless charging, you should be able to do that. They are expected, it will let you wirelessly charge AirPods or other smartphones by placing them on the back of the new iPhones. Apple is playing catch up to Samsung and others there as well. As for the design, any design changes to the new phones probably won't feel dramatic, with screen sizes likely to match the current iPhone lineup. As for the notch, it remains to be seen whether the notch covering sensors on the front of those current iPhones will be reduced or disappear altogether on the new models. As for the cost, well, a reasonable guess for that is that prices for the new phones will be similar, if not identical, to the current iPhone lineup, which is $749 on up for the XR, $1,000 for the XS, and $1,100 for the XS Max. And as for the iOS software, well, one thing we already know for sure is that the latest iPhones will run iOS 13, the software now available as a public beta. Among the fresh features the software brings is dark mode, better privacy safeguards, and a redesigned Photos app. Although, keep in mind, that alone is not a reason to upgrade, since iOS 13 is also compatible with iPhones dating as far back as 2015. So, stick with your current phone. It's entirely possible that Apple will pull some surprises, and that the summer speculation is just that and proves to be way off base. But if the reading of the tea leaves proves right, iPhone buyers might want to, well, wait at least until next year, and then you can geek out on the new iPhones. Sound good? I don't know. Are you going to be waiting? Post below. As for me, I'm still on the, 7? 8? I don't know. I'm like a couple versions behind, but I don't see any reason to upgrade. The phone works fine. Well, my phone in particular does not seem to be work the greatest, so age is definitely starting to show on it. Probably needs a refresh at the very least, possibly the next version up at the most. But as for the newest version, I could probably hold off a year or two until I actually get something good, and I then would most likely go out and purchase it and then hold on to it for like a couple years or so. So with that, that's my thoughts on the iPhone 11. Love to hear what yours are if you're looking forward to it. Post below. And finally, we got some gaming news, gadget news. Well, the Nintendo Switch Lite announced it out of nowhere. As a matter of fact, Nintendo covered it. It looks like it's going to be releasing quite soon. And if you haven't gotten the news, you tuned into the right place. The Nintendo Switch Lite is a leaner version of the existing Switch model that sacrifices some features but slashes $100 off the system's price tag. It sells for $200 in the US. It releases on September 20th in a trio of colors, with a special edition Pokemon version arriving in November. Now, the Switch Lite, for those wondering, features a 5.5-inch screen that displays at a resolution of 720p. This shrinks the screen down slightly from the original Switch's 6.2-inch size. Additionally, the Switch Lite will no longer be able to connect to TVs via USB-C and HDMI. This means that the Switch Lite is being positioned as purely a handheld platform as opposed to a hybrid like the original. Despite that, it will still bear the Switch name. And oh, look at here it is. Here it is. It looks like a tiny little Game Boy just stretched out with the buttons on the wrong sides. Why'd they add a second little Joy-Con? I have no idea. It looks like a Game Boy to me. I should probably stop making fun of it. We're looking at photos right now of it. And get this out of here. So yeah, we're looking at a couple photos of it. Here's how the screen would look like. Here, this is a couple other lighting versions. Here's what it looks like on the back. Here's what it looks like playing with friends. Looks like it comes in a couple of colors. And there's the Pokemon edition. The headphone port is still there. Bluetooth headset support has not been added, sadly. And the button layout is largely unchanged. However, the Switch Lite no longer has detachable Joy-Con controllers. I probably labeled that wrong, didn't I? The stupid little, not the Joy-Con ones, the little lever. What? I'm going to stop talking because I'm going to make a fool of myself if I keep on going. Furthermore, the Switch Lite will not have rumble or the IR motion sensors. Joy-Con controllers can still be connected to the Switch Lite, if you are wondering. Nintendo has swapped out the 4 small buttons that serve as the directional inputs on the Joy-Cons for a traditional D-pad. However, one other thing to consider is that Nintendo Labo, which allows users to build peripherals using cardboard, won't work since the Switch Lite is too small. Duh, obviously. Other games will need to support handheld mode in order to function. Titles like 1-2 Switch and Super Mario Party will require you to purchase standard Joy-Cons in order to play them. And, ooh, look, here's the announcement trailer for it too. So if you guys are wondering, it's links in the show notes and you can go ahead and watch the video there if you would like. The Switch Lite is matte tape plastic, and according to CNET, which had a chance to go hands-on with it, has a solid feel reminiscent to a lot of the recent Nintendo 2DS XL handhelds. No detachable Joy-Con means the sides of the Switch Lite don't flex or creak as much either. When the Switch Lite launches on September 20th, it will be available in gray, yellow, and turquoise. A limited edition Pokemon themed design that has etchings and an off-white case will arrive alongside Pokemon Sword and Shield, though it will not include the game as part of the bundle. And then they actually go on with the official specs here: size, weight, screen, CPU, system memory, input, output, audio jack, game card slot, internal battery. Battery life, for those wondering, can last for more than 6 hours, but will vary depending on the software and usage conditions. For example, if you're going to play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you can play for 4 hours on a single charge. Charging time is approximately 3 hours. Please note, this is the time to take into charge while the console is in sleep mode. So, yeah. Ironically enough, Nintendo said it would not announce the new systems during E3, and they stuck to their guns on that one. Reports have indicated that 2 new Nintendo Switch models are in the works. And the first, less expensive iteration with pared-down features we now know is the Switch Lite. So, where's this second one? Still remains to be seen. Will it be an enhanced version of the Switch? That could be. But for those of you wanting a nice light edition, maybe back to a version of a 2DS or a Game Boy, for that matter, because I'm a dummy, I only play Game Boy. Those options exist now for you as well. I believe in terms of purchasing it, I think you probably have to either order it from Nintendo proper or figure it'll be showing up in some select retailers to be announced at a later date. Although it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that Best Buy, and GameStop, at least here in the US, will be selling it, and most likely Amazon as well. Alright, and with that said, that wraps up this episode of the Latest in Tech News. Thanks for tuning in, guys. New episodes every weekday. The Latest in Tech News can be found on every major platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and wherever else you can listen to a podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to let us know by clicking that like button and leaving a comment. Also, double check that you are subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. I'm your host, Taylor American. Remember, for the latest in tech, gadgets, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much, keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.